Billy the Kid Lawrence says, people are going to feel real stupid for believing a bunch of BS when your case is over. People will believe what they believe. This is the thing. And I'm trying to get this across. Look, there are a few people, very few people, who know almost all of the story. I don't even know all of the story. I'm learning shit about my own situation because, hey, I wasn't there for some of it. So I'm learning shit about my own situation. I'm learning shit about my life. Who has the complete story? That's what all of this shit is for, finding the story. Right now, people have one side because one side gets to tell a story. They get to craft a narrative. And the other side, anything they say about that narrative can be used to put them in prison forever. So one side gets to say whatever they want, and they can lie. They can fabricate details. They can screw up. And guess how often they get punished? Almost never. They almost never get punished because it doesn't behoove government to punish itself. It just doesn't. People always ask during trials, well, they lied on the stand. Are perjury? Well, the prosecutor liked the lie. So why would they press perjury charges? Why would they even ask the question? They don't. They get caught sometimes and they kind of have to. But the government gets to craft a narrative. The other parties, everybody else involved, they don't. Because they're under a fucking gun. There's a gun pointed in my mouth by government right now. Because every law, every single one ends with a bullet at some point. And so no matter what, if I say something to try and craft my own narrative, even if I try and counter a blatant falsehood, I risk putting myself in front of that bullet. Everybody watching, all they can do is judge based on the information they have access to. And believe me, I would love to give you access to all kinds of information, but I can't. I can't do it because it will be misinterpreted. It will be intentionally used only negatively. It will be decontextualized and abused because that's what the system does. And I'm probably going to release a short video on why that's actually just how the system is supposed to work. We always kind of frame it as evil, and it is in a way very evil especially when you're against it. But it makes logical sense. And we try and counter the necessity of that setup when it comes to government by increasing the standard to beyond a reasonable doubt. Right? To having a constitution with rights that are supposed to be there. Those are things we try to do to mitigate the disparity in power, but still treat the two parties as adverse parties. The government is adverse to me in this case. Now, in a civil case, the two parties craft their own narrative about what happened, and someone finds the facts somewhere between them, right? But those cases are resolved on a different standard of evidence, typically preponderance of the evidence. 51% more likely to be correct wins. We try and counter that with government by holding them to this much higher standard of beyond a reasonable doubt. But it's still the same setup. It's two adverse parties telling a story about the other one. Well, really, government telling a story about you. And that story has to be bad enough for you to have to mitigate it. That's the system. And it feels really fucking evil because they do get to lie or misrepresent things or overblow things or cause something and then blame you for it. They get to do all those things and you don't get to say anything back. Because if you do, you can have someone kick down your door and put a gun in your mouth. And believe me, I live in a small town, but they're happy to bust down a door and draw guns. Because at the end of the day, they're cowards too.